it's great to listen to David Goggins and have him tell you that you're capable of a lot more than you think you are. But running on broken legs is not the thing that you want to do.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Uphill Athlete podcast. I'll be your host today. My name is Alyssa Clark, and I am super excited to bring on an absolutely incredible guest. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him. He is just all around incredible climber, alpinist, now trail runner, all of the things in the mountains. And I'm sure if you don't know his name, you will know his name soon. He's kind of a quiet crusher, even though you are absolutely incredible. So we're going to keep shouting your name out so that everyone knows who you are. But today I have on Vitaliy Musiyenko. And Vitaliy, thanks for being on.
Hey, Alyssa, thanks a lot for inviting me. I feel like sharing useful information and helping people has been a huge theme in my life. And I feel very happy to be invited on a training podcast because I feel like we can share a lot of useful information with the people that are listening, especially the whole huge mountain community of athletes on uphill athlete. I also wanted to congratulate you on Katie Scheid becoming your teammate.
Oh, yeah.
We did not talk in a while, and it's sort of big news. And I feel like it connects directly to the topic that we were discussing before we started recording when it comes to mentorship. I feel like having mentors that can help you grow is a huge boost for an athlete, and having somebody like Katie on your team might hopefully will take you to the next level in competition. At least that's what I'm hoping, because strong mentors are just so important for developing as an athlete. And that's actually that's the first tip in this podcast is surround yourself with people that you can learn from, and don't be afraid to be a student of the game, because you're gonna grow a lot more if you don't perceive yourself as an expert at any point in your career as a climber, runner, or whatever you want to do with your life.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, I'm super excited to learn from her, and her partner, Jermaine, is also an incredible trail runner. So I've actually never met either of them, and I'm really excited to hopefully get to spend some time getting to know them. But I think that's something that I admire so much about you, and is so clear in what you do. Also, the conversations that we've had is that you are such a student of all mountain sports. I would probably guess student of most things in your life. And you ask such deep and thoughtful questions, and just there's no ego behind anything that you do. You just keep trying to do your best and learn. And that to me is just such an admirable quality of you, and also why you've had, I think, so much success is such an interesting word, but we'll say success in all of the mountain endeavors that you've done. But as we're kind of getting into that, I'd love to hear about just your background, how you came into climbing, just climbing first, and then kind of endurance as a piece to aid in your climbing adventures.
Yeah, thank you so much for all these compliments. I feel like ego, it's impossible to not have ego. Everyone has one, but it's possible to identify it and control it. And that's what I've been trying to do. Probably not always successful, but at least I'm trying. And I came to climbing very late in life. I was about 24 years old when I started to scramble up peaks in the Sierra and trying to go on backpacking trips. Um, I actually was a very unhealthy growing up, and I couldn't do any sports till I was in high school. I did not attend a PE class when I was in high school because of all my health issues. And then when I moved to the United States with my mom, I was working since I was like 14 years old in Domino's Pizza. And when I was 16 years old, I was already weighing 300 pounds. So I am used to being the least athletic person out of all my friend group. And That's probably helps me now to keep my ego in check, is because I know what it's like to be the least athletic person. It's been recent enough in my life that I can still recognize it. And Every time I make some sort of a progress in my climbing or running, or in any athletics, I celebrate it, and I kind of pinch myself, trying to, you know, trying to celebrate that progress can be possible, unlike my earlier version would think. So after I got into scrambling, I actually read Steve House's book, Beyond the Mountain, and it really resonated with me as the hardest way of climbing mountains. And just scrambling up 13,000-foot peaks in the Sierra was the hardest thing that I've done in my life. Even though I was, I started playing high school football at 300 pounds. I could not run around a track for a quarter mile. Not even, talking about doing a mile. In the beginning, it was so hard for me to start. And Then I got into boxing, and I got really deep into boxing. And boxing is not an easy sport. But when I got into just pure scrambling, I was humbled by it even farther, because it felt like physically, not impossible, but really difficult. And when I found out about alpinism, which is a way to climb mountains by very difficult routes in a fast and light fashion, it just seemed like the hardest thing I could throw myself at in this, in my life. And for some reason, it spoke to me, and it attracted me. And at first I got some, because I was 300 pounds, I lost a lot of weight, and I actually became a personal coach at one point. So I created a roadmap for myself when it comes to improving and getting myself to become, an alpinist at some point. At first, I focused on my just physical preparation, and I would load my backpack with 5 to 6 gallons of water, and I would hike up a very steep city block in San Francisco, because that's all I had for training. Living in San Francisco, you don't have continuous 2,000-foot climbs. I did not, have the ability to just drive out and go for a 3,000-foot hike. But I had the ability to climb in the gym, and do my cardio on these steep city blocks. And I actually felt like I might have built the most climbing fitness doing that, because um, compared to typical muscular endurance that's advocated on uphill athlete, which works very well. I feel like in those workouts, when you are going for 2 to 3 hours up and down a single city block, you're able to dedicate some of that time to intense pushes up that city block, and it's almost like um, it almost creates this um, like more of a strength stimulus versus uphill continuous stimulus that builds more endurance and muscular endurance. So I feel like that was the first step, and the second step was to try to find people to go climbing a trad, to learn how to place gear, how to place ice screws on ice climbs. And obviously at first you're just top roping on ice, and then when you feel comfortable enough, you're starting to lead, and your skills are building over time. And just like that, um, uh, zone two training, if you really love something, it's going to be easy for you to build a lot of mileage on the terrain and to improve over time. So I feel like when people ask, how do you improve in climbing or trail running, if you like it and if you have a goal that you're training towards that excites you and excites your training, it's going to be very easy to get out there and cover a lot of mileage, put in a lot of mileage, outdoors or indoors, wherever you can train. And even right now, I work in the ICU as a nurse, and my shifts are usually 12 and a half hours. I come home after my shifts and I do 2 hours on my uphill treadmill, or I go to the climbing gym and do 2.5 hours of strength training and climbing there. So when you have a goal that you are excited about, it's really easy to find that energy to go out and push yourself.
Yeah, it definitely is. You make time for the things that are important to you. And I will say that I believe I've said this before, but when you have an athlete that they have one singular goal of, say, doing Rainier, that's a very common one,
Mhm.
or something along those lines, and they yes, they put in the training to do Rainier, but then afterwards they do absolutely nothing. Like
Mhm.
they just have zero interest in continuing that fitness. That was very much like a one-time push. I just always feel a little bit sad because I feel like we didn't find the thing that was sustainable and actually they wanted to keep up for the rest of their life, because I think of this as lifetime fitness and motivation versus these kind of one-off things. And of course everyone has their own goals, but I'm always like, let's maybe this wasn't the thing, maybe we should find something else. Because I mean, I train almost every day and it's just my life. It's not, I don't think of it as something I have to do, it's something that I get to do. And I feel like you fall under that same category.
Yeah, and it's important to also recognize that us as people who are willing to just dedicate our whole life to training for these very hard things, we are outliers, and most
Yep.
people don't really have the drive to keep going and work their ass off every week in order to find the next thing and the next thing, because as climbers and trail runners, we also take a lot of time away from our family and don't invest as much into our friendships, so it's not all glorious and incredible. I feel like with time I was able to recognize that I lost a lot of time of investing into my friendships and relationships, and I try to invest more now as I get older, and I feel like as I continue to grow and learn, who knows, maybe I will change certain things, but yeah, I feel like it's really important, and it's hard to find a goal for people that you train because they are the ones that need to come up with their own goals. And
Yes.
I never, I feel like giving them the independence of finding their goal is a huge part of making their training a success, because they will actually be willing to do all the work because they are the ones who came up with their big goal, so to say.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think um there, sometimes it's like, hey, I want to do this a training race. Do you have any recommendations? But
Mhm.
if we are pushing, if someone says to me, hey, I need a goal or something, I'm like, oh, okay, let's spend some time, we can discuss things, but that does need to come from inside because it's going to get hard. I mean, I am
Mm-hmm.
sure that it is not easy after you've spent 12 and a half hours working the ICU floor to every day want to go to the climbing gym. And when we say like we get to do this, it's not because it's always
Yep.
easy. It's just that it's worth it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, you have to find those things that matter enough to keep
Mm-hmm.
showing up and doing the work. Um, have you ever worked with a coach before?
I have a little, because I have a background in coaching, and I literally read every book on training that you can imagine. Aside from the Uphill Athlete and Jason Koop's book, all the different books on training for climbing, like anything for marathon running, anything that you can imagine, I probably read it. But I still I asked Jack Kunzel to give me his opinion on the structure that I built for myself, and he went over um, what I thought was a good idea, and gave me his opinions on things. And it's really hard for me to work with a coach because I change my plans daily, depending on how I feel. Um, if I have a particularly difficult shift in the hospital, I can't really do anything very taxing, or I might just decide to take a day off if I did not sleep enough, or it just depends. And on some days when I expect to feel shitty, I feel good. So I understand the balance between easy volume and intense training, and I try to decide what it's gonna be on the day, or maybe even during my workout. If I'm starting my warm up process and in 30 minutes I feel incredible, then I may have an interval training session, for example. Or if I feel like I don't have anything to give on this day, I will just do some easy volume, maybe for a couple hours or maybe for an hour, and call it good. And then it also changes based on the climbing plans, and climbing plans change on the weather forecast. So it's really hard to work with a coach, but understanding the structure of training is very important. Yeah, the principles. And another tip I wanted to give to your listeners is to see a different physical therapist every year of your training cycle, and to have an independent assessment from them, because prehab is much better than rehab. And now that I did that for 3 years in a row, I feel like I became a much healthier athlete when I started to see a physical therapist and do all these rehab exercises, or maybe I should call them prehab. And the reason why I started is because when I got into trail running, I tried to ramp up my mileage too fast, too soon, and I started getting some hip pain. And I basically just had hip pain and Achilles heel pain all the time, and then working with a physical therapist helped a lot to um, get me on the right track of getting rid of all this pain. And now I feel so much healthier overall, because I can train without any pain on my body. And I'm like 4 years older than I was when I started. So I just wanted to share that, because I told some of my friends to do the same, and they had great results as well. So I just want everyone else to be healthy out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible advice. I totally agree that it's super important to stay proactive. And I think it's really beneficial to have a season where it's kind of like an off season a little bit, and then you can build
Mhm.
into more of your on season training. And in that off season, getting those assessments, finding those weaknesses, and working on them before you get into that heavy load where you don't have time, or you feel like you don't have time or energy to fix them, and it's kind of already a little bit too late, and it's just going to spring up as an injury or a weakness.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have an extensive background. I mean, so many first ascents. You've done Flash, Moonlight, Buttress. You've soloed Widow's Tears. You've um, done the Fitzroy Skyline, Fitzroy twice. Like, so many incredible alpinism routes, climbing routes, and also you have the Goliath Traverse, which you were the first ascent on that, which sounds absolutely freaking terrifying in my mind, but it absolutely incredible. Like, I remember hearing about you doing that, being like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is just incredible." But something happened after your ascent of the Goliath Traverse that you kind of seem to switch more into trail running a little bit and more of the endurance side of things. Can you explain or tell us a bit about that shift and what was the catalyst behind it?
Yeah, that's a great observation in general. And before the Goliath Traverse, I really tried to focus on building up my endurance and my overall base, as they say, to be able to handle back to back to back to back to back to back to back big days. And after completing the Goliath, I realized that if Goliath, as big as it was, and it's probably by far the biggest traverse that's been done in.
Can we
Yeah.
can we pause? Can you just explain a little bit of what the Goliath Traverse is, just in case our listeners aren't quite aware of it?
It's insanely difficult to describe what it is because to relate to it, you have to know a lot about ridge traversing on big mountains. And something that is very understandable for people, for certain people, is the evolution traverse in the Sierra, which is about 13,000 foot peaks. And um, it it's as classic as big alpine traverses get in the Sierra and in the United States, or other people might be more familiar with the Grand Traverse, the Traverse of all the Grand Teton. That's a big one, and usually average people take about fit average climbers take about 3 days on the Evolution Traverse, and some outstanding athletes are able to do it in one day. Um, so I feel like on the Goliath, if you uh, put it all together, it felt to me like doing seven evolution traverses stacked back to back together, but making the climbing a lot more sustained, a lot harder, a lot more loose, and just gnarlier overall by a long shot. So in the High Sierra, we had the two biggest traverses were the Evolution Crest Traverse, which is about 2.5 times longer than the Evolution Traverse, and more loose in places, and the full Palisade Traverse. There was another traverse that's been attempted by Conrad Anker and Peter Croft, which was supposed to be an extension to the full Palisade Traverse, which would double its size. And they were unsuccessful in making that ascent. So my goal was to, and because both of those run right next to each other on the Sierra Crest, my goal was to um, do the extension of the full Palisade Traverse and take it into into the Evolution Crest Traverse and do it alpine style, which means carry all my food, like all my nutrition on my back, all my gear on my back by myself over that time. And the first ascent of the full Evolution Crest Traverse took the team of two guys 8 days with pre-cached food and water and fuel. So um, basically, I was gonna try something that no one, you know, uh, like a lot of people probably thought about doing it, but I feel like most people would want to cache things along the way to make it more doable. And my desire was to push my mental capacity of dealing with such high consequence terrain on many back-to-back days, as well as pushing my athletic ability, because I have to carry all the things that I need to carry by myself, which also included a 60-meter rope, all my food, all my camping gear, my fuel, my snacks, um, everything that I will have to use, all the lever gear and all the climbing gear that I may need in order to rappel down these steep faces. So it seemed like a huge undertaking, and I wanted to dedicate that whole year to improving as an athlete in order to make it possible for myself. And what I realized is that at the moment, I'm able to absorb only about half of the amount of cardio training that your typical endurance athlete trains at when they're preparing for 100 milers and so on. So, preparing for Goliath, I became a student of trail running endurance, ultra endurance athletes, and I started reading a lot of books on the subject. During the Goliath, I had basically I was listening to free trail podcasts. Back then, I remember it was called Pillars. I listened to
Oh
David
yeah.
Goggins' book. I listened to all kinds of endurance related content in order to help myself push through on those tough days. Um, and after I got done with the Traverse, I realized that if I'm able to do something so big on so little training, what if I step back from climbing for a couple years and focus on endurance and get myself to a level of a decent ultra runner, for example, and I believe that it will make me a much better alpinist, because if you think about alpinism, it's a combination of climbing skills when it comes to dry tooling on rock, when it comes to like being a good climber overall. It involves winter camping skills, but maybe some of the most important thing that a good alpinist possess is their fitness. If you think of the best alpinists, you probably start thinking about Yuri Stek. You also have people like David Gottler, who are able to climb big peaks very fast. And the fitness is a huge reason why they are able to. And when you look at what they do to train, you can see that Yuri Stek did a lot of trail running. David Gottler did a lot of trail running. So I feel like it's important sometimes to take a step back and be a student of something different than you're used to, like such as climbing was for me. It's something that I got decent at. But even though I maybe would otherwise feel very good about my athletic performance on the Goliath, I realized that I am far, far below of what I'm actually capable of if I push myself into a realm that I'm unfamiliar with and learn about managing your effort, for example. How do you manage it? Do you just focus on your heart rate zones? Do you focus on Jason Coop's perceived level of exertion? How do you manage your nutrition? Is it just carbs that you have to wash, or is it just fluids, or is it electrolytes? Is it a combination of all of them? And maybe I have to also incorporate the temperature on the day into managing all these little things. And I feel like it just helped me learn so much more than I would be capable of if I stayed in my limited zone of climbing. I feel like what makes some of the better ultra runners is that they are also learning from peloton, cyclists. They're trying to find out, oh, how do they use bicarb? How do they use ketones or creatine in um, some of their uh, workouts, or their training blocks? And when you are able to learn from other sources, you just improve in the thing that you're working on, because now, even in my some of my climbing days, I might consider using something like bicarb. um, and
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's my
Yeah.
very long answer.
No, no, I love that. I mean, first off, just your willingness to look at, hey, what can I learn, yeah, from these other sports? This is going to help me grow. This is going to help me improve as an athlete. And I think, observing, we talked about this before, that jokingly trail running is 10 years behind cycling. But maybe if we can get it up to 5,
Hmm.
we'll, we'll make a lot more improvements. But I also think studying triathlon, studying gravel bike study. I mean, I think that trail runners, actually, I think trail runners have a tremendous amount to learn from mountain athletes for safety and being able to take care of yourself in big mountain situations. Because yes, we don't go perhaps as high or in as consequential terrain as, say, an alpinist does, but we are very often up high over passes or going into situations at night in challenging weather. And I feel like a lot of athletes have come to trail running from, say, a more traditional running background. And so they don't have that mountain experience, that mountain savviness. And I feel like that is something we can learn so much from. Like, how do you spend a night up at 10, 11,000 feet or higher, keep warm, like have the resources, have the knowledge and the first aid, to know how to bivy and be safe. And so that's one aspect that I am always pushing for trail runners, is to be a good mountain athlete. Don't just be someone who can run really fast on trails. So I think that's a way we can definitely learn from each other.
Yeah, it's. I think it's really good to be in symbiotic relationship between the two, and learn from each other, because there's a lot of different kinds of wisdoms that you can learn from one another, especially those trail runners that are interested in mountainous FKTs, for example.
Definitely.
Like I remember we did the same FKTF on Mount Whitney, running from Lone Pine, right? And I bet
Yes.
most trail runners that don't have any experience with mountaineering would probably be very afraid on the climb of Mount Whitney through the Mountaineers route, and probably not as safe as you would have been in on that terrain, because you actually have experience, and you know how to take care of yourself in the mountains. But yeah, I feel like both realms can take a person and reward them with much greater um, experiences than they would have just running trails or just climbing mountains. As somebody who loves alpinism, I feel like trail running is the purest form of alpinism because it's actually light and fast. I could
Yeah,
just go out with like two 500 milliliter flasks and like I don't know 1,500 calories and cover like an insane amount of mileage and see so many things that would otherwise take you like 4 days to cover if you're backpacking. uh, so yeah, I feel like the rewards that you can find exploring trail running are immense.
absolutely. Yeah, I think trail running unlocks more opportunities for alpinism, mountaineering, climbing, etc., and ski touring, all of that. And climbing, like being able to use an ice axe, an ice tool, be able to use a rope, climb, etc., opens up opportunities in trail running. It's just being able to move
Mhm.
through the mountains efficiently, safely, and with a set of skills that allows you to tackle a huge variety of terrain.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's super fun. It's like all of these things open up to you when you have those skills. Um, but I'm curious to touch a little bit with the pieces that you learned from the trail running. I think one of them in particular, I'd love to hear about your experience at Kodiak 100 with
Mm.
your pacing strategies. And what I think a lot of people can learn from that, and how you applied that then to your climbing.
Yeah, that I feel like to 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 give it some background, I figured that to complete 100 miler is something that basically became sort of like my blue whale, so to say. And my goal was not to just complete 100 miler, but to run closer to my potential, and hopefully try. My goal was to do it under 24 hours. I am usually like I like goals that I don't know if I can actually achieve them, so I have to work hard in order to get there. And running 100 miler under 24 hours is something that I generally did not know if I could do in training for just a couple years. So I had two false starts. I had 200 milers where I didn't finish. And in one of them, I actually got my stress fracture from the time when I did 100K. I got exacerbated, and I decided to drop out, which is a smart decision because your health is most important. You don't want to hold yourself back by running on broken legs, even though that's not what David Goggins will tell you. Uh,
Yeah, don't
but
do that.
yeah, don't do that. It's great to listen to David Goggins and have him tell you that you're capable of a lot more than you think you are. That's awesome. But running on broken legs is not the thing that you want to do. You will progress much better as an athlete. And
We're
sorry,
gonna pull that out as that's the pull quote. Please don't
yeah,
run on broken legs.
yeah. Tip number one. um, let's do some common sense. Uh, so
Yeah.
um, so the second time I tried 100 miler, I did not have any training running in the heat in Salt Lake City over the winter months, and I didn't know much about managing my electrolytes. uh, and I had horrible stomach and leg cramps because I basically went from winter running in nice cool weather to like close to 90 degrees in SoCal.
It was
Uh,
so hot.
yeah, and what I decided to do training for Kodiak is I got a sweat test to figure out how much like sodium I'm losing it with every liter of water, so I can so I can supplement it adequately. And I decided that in order to, um, when you think about a 100 miler and a marathon, in a marathon, you usually run out of your glycogen after about 20 miles because you can carry about 2,000 calories, maybe 2,500 calories in your glycogen. And then you sort of run out and your energy drops, right? If you think about managing a 100 miler, you shouldn't be running at the level that you are running your marathon. But if you are not supplementing yourself with a lot of calories every hour, you will run out. Um, if you are if you're expanding about 600, 700 calories an hour, and you are able to take in 400 in that's pretty good. Like taking in
Yeah.
400 calories an hour for most runners is doing really well. But most people don't train, and don't get used to be able to take in 400 calories an hour. So I understood that, if you want to prevent a bonk in a 100 miler, I will have to actually be able to manage my pace at the same level that I can absorb all the calories, water, and electrolytes, and be able to do it for the duration of the race and adjust my effort levels to the temperature on the day and to what I'm trying to take into my body. And that's not even talking about paying attention to your heart rate zones and to your level of exertion together. So there was a lot that I had to learn about being able to manage that and to manage my own excitement on the day of the race. And what happened was, on the day of the race, my plan was to run a consistent race and manage my effort over the course of the day. And I actually got to the first couple aid stations with over 100 runners being in front of me. And when I would run with other people, we would talk, and they would offer to pass, and I was just like, we're on a 19-hour pace right now. I don't think I want to pass you. I think I'm perfectly happy running, like not any faster than we are already running, because I feel like we're probably are already running too fast. And what happens later is, I was just passing giant trains of people who were just like hiking at a hiker's pace, and I could not even imagine how hard they must have been running to start the race, if they got so much far ahead of me and are now walking at like a 2 mile an hour pace with like 10 people in the group. So I feel like the something to learn here is on pacing, and this lesson is important for both trail runners and and mountain climbers especially. And I will tell you why. If you On the day of your race, you will be very excited, you will be very rested, and you will probably go out at a pace that will feel easy, but it actually will take you to your, like, it probably will I bet like a lot of those people were in their threshold zone. Like they were probably doing their high zone 3, maybe zone 4, in the beginning hour or so. And I feel like that will get you, like that will definitely ruin your performance on for the whole race. One of the racers that I was talking to when we were running together for a little bit, he actually told me that I start very fast, and I put miles on the bank, and then I slow down in the second half. And I did not try to offer any of my thoughts on the subject, but I was just thinking that that's not how you like if you're running 30 miles very well, and you're going at a pace that you can only maintain for 30 miles, you're probably going to lose many hours in the next 70 miles, rather than getting um, a performance that is actually a lot better than you would otherwise if you just pace yourself more equally over the course of the day. What An example performance for me is Ruth Croft at last UTMB, where she finished the race like maybe 15 minutes behind Katie Scheid, who got I think she got a record
Course
for,
record. Yeah.
yeah. And she looked fresh. She was ready to do another 50 miles after her finish. So I feel like there's a lesson here, and the lesson from mountain climbers is the same. Is that I made this mistake personally. When it comes to mountains and expeditions, you usually feel a lot better when on the first days of the expedition, or in the first hours of your day hike or day climb, and you end up pushing yourself a lot harder. And since I started wearing a heart rate monitor, I noticed that with some of my friends, when we would load our backpacks with climbing gear and approach ice climbs, for example, um, some of them pushed their pace into a pace that I would call threshold. My heart rate was like 165 or higher, trying to keep up with them, and those guys were, they weren't killing Jornet. They That pace would not be maintainable for the whole duration of the day. And I feel like it's really important to recognize when we push ourselves too hard in the beginning of the day, because the approach to an ice climb is not when you want to perform at your best. You want to perform your best on the ice climb. You want to perform your best on your summit day, not the day that you're getting to 14,000 foot camp on Denali, or not the day when you're trying to get to 17,000 foot on Denali. Um, and another thing to remember is on those days that you waste yourself getting to the high camp, you will not recover as much, as better, um, or as well as you would if you were at lower altitude. So not only you're overexerting yourself, but you're also not going to recover from it. And I feel like too many mountaineers, me included, did that mistake in the past when we went out too hard on acclimation, or days that, relatively speaking, don't play any. Um, like you don't have to do you don't have to put out your best performance before your summit day. You have to save your energy for your summit day, and then try to manage your day equally, so that you can get to the top and then have enough energy to get back to your high camp. And to share just my own personal mistake, so that I don't lecture your listeners, and just sound like an expert. I had an expedition a couple of years ago when we went to Mount Denali to try this difficult route on the southwest face called the Denali Diamond. And me and my friend were super excited. We landed on the glacier. First thing that we did, we went up and climbed the Bibler Kluin route on Mount Hunter. We like got almost to the top of the North Buttress, but we were in the storm, so we rappelled down. We took a day off on the glacier below, and then I'm not sure how many people were at 14,000 foot on Denali, but we went from the airstrip to the high camp at 14,000 in just 2 days with very heavy sleds, which is, like way too fast. I'd say 4 days would be on the quick end of getting to that high camp. And then I summited the mountain on the fourth day from 14,000 foot camp. And then on the seventh day, I also summited by the West Rib Cutoff on by myself breaking trail. And basically I just tired myself out more than I should have, in retrospect. And on when we actually got on the Denali Diamond climb, even though I did pretty well, like I did great on the climb, I actually got the second free ascent of the climb ever, which was great. But on the upper slopes, I was dying of like I bonked pretty hard on the upper slopes, and not only because I tired myself in earlier in the expedition, I also did not bring enough food with myself. So I feel like pacing and nutrition are two very, very um, important things that both trail runners and climbers could improve on, and just managing your excitement early in the trip.
I mean, you're absolutely right about the pacing. Being patient with pacing takes confidence and an ego check, because I think that people get very carried away in the race. Like you said, they feel really good. I like to think of it as, can I sustain this pace at mile 70, at mile 80,
Mhm.
hour 10 of this climb? And you just have to keep asking yourself that question and the sustainability of it. But I think it's very easy for people to, yeah, get caught up in that and burn themselves up super quickly. So it's it happens all the time. And I think there's also an element of fear that uh, they don't know, especially if it's your first time, what is going to happen at mile 80. And so I think they're like, well, I'm probably going to be walking anyway, so I might as well
Right.
just run as hard as I can up to that point. It's like, but
Yep.
it's possible to feel really good at mile 80. Like, you can
Yeah.
feel better than at mile 10, if you have the confidence in the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. What's funny is that in my I after the Goliath Traverse, it got some attention in the media, and I one of my expeditions got canceled because of some unpredictable things going on in Nepal due to COVID. And I actually signed up for a marathon, and I ran a marathon on like no training. And one of my friends online was a race director who was like, "Hey, if you want, you can join my trail race, a 50K or 100K." And I was just like, "Sure." I've never tried to run anywhere close to that. The marathon was the longest I've ran ever at that point, and that was just like basically a week before he invited me. And the trail race was in the month after that marathon. So after he invited me, I made a plan for myself for the race, and I literally like had a plan for first 40 miles, and after 40 miles in my plan, I just um, wrote probably blow up. That was part of my plan, and that was it.
Oh, I love the honesty on that, but yeah, I would say that whether or not people write that, that's probably in far too many
Yeah.
plans.
But what was actually incredible
Uh,
about that race is, Jack Kunzel, right?
mhm.
He was the only person that I sort of knew through the internet in California who was into endurance, and he wasn't yet as famous as he became after putting up the new record on Rainier, on Denali, and probably he's about to put up a record on Mont Blanc, and he did a lot of other incredible FKTs and athletic achievements in the mountains. So he became quite a famous guy now. But back then he was just a guy that was stoked on hearing about the Goliath, and he offered to pace me. and he actually what got me totally screwed up in that 100K is that I was doing so well that by the like a couple miles before I was picking up Jack, I think I was in second place, and and I heard that that ultra marathons on trails are eating contests, and my stomach was absorbing food really well. So I literally had like um, three gels and like a whole liter of fluid right before I got to the aid station. And I also drank a pre-workout at the aid station
Oh no.
that I had. And like 5 miles after, we might have even passed the first person, and my stomach completely blew up. And the last 5 miles of that race was literally some of the like the hardest thing I had experienced in my life, like harder than my first climb of Mount Shasta. It was total hell where I remember hiking up a very mellow incline and feeling like I'm on the Hillary step on Mount Everest or something like that, where I just can't do it. My legs are not working. My quads were completely destroyed. Because I never ran so much downhill, and I learned a lot that day. I still finished better than I expected I would, um, but um, but I realized that there's still a lot to learn. Well, that was basically the beginning of the learning process, if you think about it.
I love that. Oh man, the pre-workout is a
Yeah,
that's a move. I've only done that before one like 5 mile run, and I remember feeling so good for about 3 or 4 miles. I was like, "Woo, I've crushed it!" And then the
yeah,
last mile or two is like, "I got nothing. It's gone." So I can't
yeah.
imagine. That's yeah, that would be rough during a race. But so I think we have time for one last question, and I'm curious what you've learned about failure in climbing and trail running, and also what you see as maybe differences in these two types of failures, because climbing is a lot more consequential in
Mhm.
that sense of failure than trail running is. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I feel like to me, failure is an essential part of progressing as a person and as an athlete, because you get to learn, and um, you get to create a different goal with all that learning in your pocket, hopefully. And of course, there's different types of failure, and what we define as failure is can be just defined as opportunity to learn, like I said already. But in climbing, you should fail on you know on safer things. You can't push yourself to succeed on things that are getting too dangerous. And sometimes when even the climbing might not be too easy, but the conditions are too dangerous, it's important to fail and speak up to your partners about the conditions just not being safe for that day, because if you if you keep going, you could die. There's a whole different um, there's a whole different risk that is associated with climbing big mountains and trail running in 100-mile race. Where if I feel uh, like going totally all out and starting the race at the highest pace that I think is sustainable for me, I can do that in a trail race without um, any risk to my life. Where I could DNF the race. I will not finish the race, maybe, but that's not a big deal, because then you will learn that pace would the temperature on the day was just not sustainable, or maybe your stomach wasn't trained enough to handle all that nutrition. But in climbing, you definitely don't get a second chance if you don't take your safety seriously. And it's something that I actually did with my own um, desire to climb in the big mountains. Is I accumulated an insane amount of mileage in the smaller mountains. Like if you think about all the things that I've done in the Sierra, and I've probably done over 171st ascents by now, climbing in like somewhat large and somewhat smaller mountains. And I haven't gone to peaks that are above 7,000 meters so far. I've been over 7,000 meters, but I haven't climbed anything very technical above that. Uh, and I'm still trying to work up to those heights. Um, and so that when I get there, I am much more prepared to succeed rather than to be somewhere um, unsafe for my level. One of the great books that I've read in the past was The Infinite Game. I'm not sure if you've read that book, but I would highly suggest it to all the people who are into athletic endeavors, and also just into personal growth overall, because The Infinite Game talks about necessity of not thinking about um, winning right now, like maybe as a climber, if I wanted to make it into magazines and get a lot of financial support from brands, I should just throw myself at the hardest thing I could right now. But the Infinite Game would tell you that it's a lot more um, attainable if you focus on your long-term growth, and don't ever think about the start and the finish of the process, because we're not playing football here. We don't have like 60 or like whatever 90 minutes of game time, and we have to score a goal in order to win the game. We are people who are trying to grow over time, and improve, and are as I said, in order to grow as an alpinist, it was important for me to take a step back in climbing and suck for a couple of years in climbing, and then learn all the things I can from the best endurance athletes in the world, in order to get myself to be able to handle 25 hours of cardiovascular work every week and be able to recover from it. And that will help me become a stronger alpinism in the future. And that now, with that knowledge, I can take my climbing knowledge, and hopefully like in 3 years I can peak both of those things together. And my knowledge that was gained over this lifetime will hopefully keep me and my partner safe on our objective. And that's kind of what I have to say about failing, and the importance um, to allow yourself to fail, but also allow yourself to learn. Learning is the most important part of failing.
Beautifully said. Yeah, it's no, there's such a big difference. I I would beg to say that, especially with climbing, the amount of I don't really like the term failure, but we'll say
Yeah,
the amount of times you
exactly.
fail, the
Learning.
amount of times you should fail climbing a mountain should be pretty high. Like a
Hmm.
50% success rate in the mountains would be insane, which that's
Hmm.
a big difference in trail running, where it's like, yeah, hopefully you've built up the fitness that you can finish the race, because there's so much room within that, of what that success or failure means. Whereas climbing, it's like, oh, it's a lot more black and white. I feel like, of, hey, it's not safe to go up this mountain right now, versus like, yeah, I could walk out this 50K.
Yeah,
So no,
exactly.
yeah, I really appreciate that perspective. Wow, this has been awesome. I feel like we need a part two. I've been wanting to get you on the podcast for a while, and yeah, we'll definitely have another conversation because I many more questions to ask. But what do you have coming up next? And if people want to follow along with your journey of climbing, trail running, etc., where can they find you?
I have a trip to India coming up next if I can get my
Fingers
visa.
crossed.
Yeah, in time. But if I don't get it in time, I will probably postpone it by a couple weeks. And people can probably follow my very serious Instagram page at MTN Gangsta. And yeah, I'm not very serious when it comes to the internet. I try to share some useful information and photography, but I'm not a very serious person in general. I like to joke around, and that's why my handle is so you know so funny.
It's a great handle. It's one of my favorites. It's like you and Tanner with the I like big buttress.
Yeah, his is hilarious too. I like it. I like Big Buttress
Yeah,
too.
it's good. Yeah, no, it's
Sometimes I
fun.
appear on that buttress.
Yes. No, I think that's. I mean, I think that's why you two are such a force in this field because you both take your crafts very seriously, but you don't take yourselves seriously, and I think there's a lot to be learned from that.
Yeah, he is great. I love climbing and doing things with Tanner because he also likes to go outside his box and sometimes we do things that are more endurance based. Sometimes we do just big climbing days. It's great. And it's like I said in the beginning of this interview, it's so crazy to think of myself, coming from being a 300 pound person to being able to, like go on climbs and runs with somebody who was a Navy SEAL. It's just so hilarious. I don't know. But
Well, I know he thinks.
it's just an example to everyone out there in the audience that if you're even unhealthy or have goals that are um, they're not impossible, and even if you're not there right now, you can start and make small gains and get to where you want to be, because all of us have that within us, and I'm just an example of that that you can find.
Well, you are, yes, an incredible example of that. So thank you for sharing your background. And yeah, we'll definitely have you on again. And fingers crossed on the visa for India. I really hope that comes through.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah, I can talk
yeah.
about climbing and training for hours and hours and hours.
No, I love it. Me too. But well, thank you so much for being on. And thank you everyone for listening to the Uphill Athlete podcast. If you can rate, review, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, that helps us spread the message of being safe and being fit in the mountains. It's not just one, but a community. We are Uphill Athlete.